Today we are completing lesson 1.2 on adding integers. Follow along with me in your red Big Ideas textbook beginning on page 10. I want you to write down all examples in your math notebook or on a piece of paper. Be sure to take detailed notes to receive full credit. In class today we used color tiles to represent combining integers. The blue tiles represented positive integers while the red tiles represented negative integers. We also used number lines to help us conceptualize or understand adding integers. So please use your number line that was laminated and given to you today in class to help you with this homework assignment tonight. Our key idea begins with adding integers with the same sign. To add integers with the same sign, maybe both positive or both negative, for example, you need to add the absolute values of the integers and then use the common sign. So let's look at the numbers 2 plus 5 equals 7. That seems like very simple basic math. But looking at it from a lens of integers, you have positive 2 and positive 5. The absolute value of 2 is 2, and the absolute value of 5 is 5. Since they are both positive, our solution is also positive, so we get positive 7. However, in the next example, we have negative 2 plus negative 5. Now here, they're both negative. So what we do is we combine the absolute value of negative 2, which is 2, and the absolute value of negative 5, which is 5. Now, as you know, 2 plus 5 is 7. However, going back to the original problem, negative 2 plus negative 5 would make negative 7. I want you to pause the video down now to write this down, and let's continue when you're done. Okay, example 1 begins on page 10. It's called adding integers with the same sign. Find negative 2 plus negative 4. Use a number line to check your answer. So here both of the numbers are negative. So the absolute value of negative 2 is 2. The absolute value of negative 4 is 4. Now, since they have the same sign, we add the digits together. 4 plus 2 is 6, and we keep the common sign. Since they are both negative, our answer should also be negative. Now, let's try it on a number line to check. We have always to start at 0. That's our starting point. And now we're going to move left 2 spaces to represent negative 2. So 1, 2. Now from here, we're adding negative 4. So if it's negative, we move left, and we're going to move left 4 spaces from negative 2. So we count 1, 2, 3, and 4. And this will take us to negative 6. So negative 2 plus negative 4 is equal to negative 6. That's where we landed, and that was our answer. So we are correct. Now I want you to try on your own. This is also in your books. I want you to do questions 1, 2, and 3. Pause the video to work it out. I also want you to write down the definition of opposites. Opposites are two numbers that are the same distance from 0, but on opposite sides of 0. So let's take a look at maybe positive 3 and negative 3 as our example. Positive 3 is 3 spaces to the right of 0. 1, 2, and 3. And negative 3 is 3 spaces to the left of 0. Now, if you were to combine negative 3 and positive 3, the opposites would cancel out, and combining them would equal 0. So write this example down, and when you're finished, let's continue. All right, our key idea now is adding integers with different signs. So sometimes you'll add numbers where you have a positive number and a negative number. To do this, you subtract the lesser absolute value from the greater absolute value. And then you use the sign of the integer with the greater absolute value. So let's try it and take take a look at 8 plus negative 10. The absolute value of 8 is 8, and the absolute value of negative 10 is 10. Now you take the larger number minus the smaller number. 10 take away 8 is 2, but you keep the sign of the larger number. Since negative 10 is larger, you're going to keep it negative. Let's try taking a look at negative 13 plus 17. Take the absolute value of negative 13, which is 13, the absolute value of 17, which is 17. Subtract the difference between 17 and 13. Always put the bigger number first, minus the smaller number, and it equals a difference of 4. Since 17 is our larger number, the sign in front of 17 is positive, so our answer will also be positive. Now, the additive inverse property states that the sum of an integer and its opposite equals 0. Okay, so now that you know the additive inverse, or the opposite, has a sum of 0, let's take a look at some of the numbers. 6 plus negative 6 equals 0. Negative 25 plus 25 equals 0. And in algebraic terms, a plus negative a would equal 0. So let's try example 2 on page 11. This is adding integers with different signs. Now for a, it says 5 plus negative 10. Oops. Let's continue. Okay. So 5 plus negative 10 would mean they have different signs. So I'm going to take the absolute value of both and subtract to find the difference between them. The absolute value of positive 5 is 5. The absolute value of negative 10 is 10. Now to subtract, you always put the larger value first minus the smaller value. 10 take away 5 is 5. So the difference is 5. Now we have to look at the sign of the greater absolute value. 10 has the greater absolute value, so we keep the sign negative. So our answer is negative 5. Let me rewrite that. 5 plus negative 10 is negative 5. Now I'm going to show you on a number line. Let's start at 5. So here is 5, oops, not 4, 5. And I'm going to add negative 10, which means I'm going to move left 10 places. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And we land on negative 5, which is exactly what we got. Now let's try B. Negative 3 plus 7, you take the absolute value of negative 3, which is 3. You take the absolute value of 7, which is 7. Subtract the larger minus the smaller number, and you get a difference of 3. Now, 7 has the greater absolute value, and so we keep our answer positive since 7 is positive. So, oops, I'm sorry, I wrote down the wrong problem. Let me correct that, my mistake. 7 take away 3 is a difference of 4. That's better. And we keep our answer positive 4 to keep our answer in line with the greater absolute value of 7. So let's check. Negative 3 plus 7 equals positive 4. So I'm going to go to my number line. I'm going to start at negative 3, and I'm going to add 7. So I'm going to move to the right 7 places. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And we land on positive 4, which is exactly what we got. Now for C, we have the absolute value of negative 12, which is 12, and the absolute value of positive 12, which is 12. Now since they have different signs, one's negative, one's positive, you have to subtract. 12 take away 12 is 0. So therefore, using the additive inverse property, negative 12 and its opposite of positive 12 combine to make 0. Now in example 3, I have already worked it out. Let me undo this and let's start fresh. Example 3 on page 11 says adding more than 2 integers. The list shows 4 bank account transactions in July. Find the change or C in the account balance. So here we have our July transactions. A withdrawal means you're taking out money, so it's negative. A deposit means you're putting in money, so that's positive. To find the change, we're going to let it equal C. C stands for the change. We're going to combine all 4 of these transactions by adding them. So we have negative 40 plus 50 plus 75 plus negative 50. Now, using commutative property of addition, we can change the order of the numbers when we're adding. So I'm going to move the positive or plus 50 over here to be next to negative 50 because I think we might be able to combine those a little bit easier. So let's bring everything down. Negative 40 plus 75 plus 50 plus negative 50. Now, using the associative property of addition, I can group the positive 50 and the negative 50 together, and I know that they're opposites, and opposites combine to make 0. So these will cancel out, and now I am left with negative 40 plus 75. Now, these have different signs. When they have different signs, we subtract. I'm going to take the absolute value of negative 40, which is 40. And I'm going to take the absolute value of 75, which is 75. To find the difference, you take the larger number minus the smaller number, which gives us a difference of 35. You keep the sign of the greater absolute value. Since 75 has a greater value, we're going to keep the sign positive. So the change in our account is $35. So we will add $35 to our account. I'm running out of room, but you can go ahead and write out that sentence in a complete sentence on your paper. Okay, I would like you to do that on your own by writing down 4 through 7 and showing your work. Please pause the video to work out these 7 problems. And the exit ticket for your homework tonight begins with, what do you know about the sum of A plus B? Explain your reasoning. Notice where A is on the number line, it's to the left of 0, and B is to the right of 0. Now, to help you understand, I recommend using any number you wish to represent A, where you think it would make sense. And then substitute a number for B that sounds reasonable to you. If you combine them, what do you think your answer would be, or where do you think it would fall on the number line? Be able to explain your reasoning. And for the second problem, 2 integers have different signs. Their sum is negative 8. What are some possible values for the 2 integers that equal negative 8? In class tomorrow, I want you to have your 1.2 video notes. Please bring your charged Chromebook, bring your record and practice journal, and turn in any missing assignments. I hope you have a great evening, and I'll see you in class. Bye-bye.